How did communist ideology affect the Soviet economy? Have you ever wondered how a political idea can shape an entire economy? Let's take a closer look at how communist ideology influenced the Soviet economy and ultimately contributed to its collapse. Communist ideology laid the foundation for the Soviet economy by promoting state ownership of all means of production. This meant that the government controlled everything from factories to farms. The goal was to eliminate private property and market competition, aiming for a classless society where resources were distributed according to need rather than profit. At the heart of the Soviet economic model was a system called administrative command. This replaced traditional market mechanisms with central planning. The government set production targets, prices, and distribution of goods through 5-year plans. These plans were designed to transform the Soviet Union from an agrarian society into a major industrial power. In the early years, especially from the late 1920s to the 1950s, the Soviet Union saw impressive industrial growth. Heavy industry and infrastructure projects flourished. This rapid modernization showcased the ability of communist planning to mobilize resources effectively, even during global economic downturns. However, this model had its drawbacks. The absence of free markets meant there were no market prices to guide production decisions. Without prices reflecting supply and demand, planners often lacked the necessary information to allocate resources wisely. This led to mismatches between what was produced and what consumers actually needed. As a result, shortages of consumer goods became common, and the quality of products often suffered. Additionally, the lack of private ownership diminished incentives for maintenance and innovation. Over time, these factors contributed to inefficiencies and stagnation within the economy. By the 1970s and 1980s, growth rates had slowed significantly. The system struggled to meet the population's demand for consumer goods and improved living standards. The Soviet economy relied heavily on natural resources and had limited foreign trade, mostly with other socialist countries. Attempts at reform under leaders like Mikhail Gorbachev did not yield substantial improvements. These reforms were often inconsistent, and the centralized system resisted change. This economic stagnation played a key role in the eventual collapse of the Soviet Union. From a socialist viewpoint, the Soviet experience illustrates both the strengths and weaknesses of communist economic principles. While state ownership and planning allowed for rapid industrialization and job security, the rigidity of the command economy created inefficiencies. The Soviet case shows that while socialist ideals can drive significant social and economic change, practical implementation needs mechanisms to ensure efficiency and responsiveness to people's needs. Understanding this balance is essential when comparing socialism and communism, as well as their impacts on economic systems.